Snail Games is a name that's been tied to controversy and failure for years, from a controversial acquisition to questionable decisions with some of the most popular games in the industry. They've made headlines for all of the wrong reasons. And if you thought that they were only focused on gaming, think again. This is the same company that blew through $600 million on a failed electric vehicle venture. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But what about the games that they actually make? Well, their handling of Ark Survival Evolved and Ark Survival Ascended, one of the most beloved games of this genre, speaks volumes about their management. Today, we're diving into why Snail Games might just be one of the most mismanaged companies in the gaming world. Let's get into it. Snail Games was founded in 2000 by Shi Hai, a Chinese entrepreneur with big ambitions in the gaming world. While the company initially gained recognition for its online multiplayer titles, it wasn't until Snail Games acquired Studio Wildcard in 2015 that it truly began to make waves in the global gaming scene. Studio Wildcard, of course, was behind the massively popular Ark Survival Evolved, which had already gained a huge following thanks to its unique concept of survival gameplay in a world filled with dinosaurs. On paper, this acquisition seemed like a good move. Snail Games was able to expand its reach in North American and European markets, and Ark's success was undeniably a significant asset for them. But this is where things started to go wrong. Despite the potential for growth, the acquisition of Studio Wildcard seemed to introduce more issues than it solved. Fans began noticing a shift in how Ark was being managed, and unfortunately, it wasn't for the better. Let's talk about Ark Survival Evolved. When the game was first released in early access back in 2015, it was groundbreaking. The idea of surviving in a prehistoric world with dinosaurs, crafting, taming, and fighting over other players was fresh and exciting. However, the game's launch was far from smooth. Players quickly noticed bugs, performance issues, and an overall lack of polish. And as time went on, it only got worse. There were numerous delays in promised updates, and communication from the developers was scarce. Many players felt that Snail Games and Studio Wildcard weren't taking their concerns seriously. As the game continued to grow in popularity, so did the criticisms. Fans felt like the game wasn't being properly supported. Despite having a huge player base, key issues remained unsolved for far too long. The game's early access period stretched on for years longer than most players expected. What was meant to be testing phases felt more like an endless wait, with many feeling like they had paid full price for a game that still was far from being finished. In 2023, Snail Games announced Ark Survival Ascended, a remaster of the original Ark using Unreal Engine 5. On paper, it sounded like exactly what fans had been waiting for, a beautiful next-generation version of Ark. But then, things took a controversial turn. Instead of offering Ark Survival Ascended as a free update or at least a discounted price for existing Ark players, Snail Games made the bold decision to charge full price for the remaster. And to add insult to injury, they also announced that they would be shutting down the official servers for Ark Survival Evolved. This meant that players who wanted to continue playing Ark on official servers would have to buy the remaster. This decision didn't sit well with the community. Fans felt betrayed by Snail Games, especially after years of supporting Ark through the thick and thin. Many players were outraged that their loyalty to the game as well as the countless hours they had invested was seemingly disregarded. The backlash was swift and severe, with many in the community expressing their frustration across social media platforms. This video is sponsored by Mitra 9. Mitra 9 is a kava and kratom seltzer company which provides an alternative to alcohol. These drinks give you a high but without the impairment. They have a ton of great flavors, my favorite being tropical. If you're looking for a new drink to replace your coffee in the morning, Mitra is the way to go. Simply go to mitra9.com and use my code OUTCAST and you will get 25% off your entire order. Now, back to the video. As if that wasn't enough, Snail Games then went on to release a trailer for the new Ark Aquatic DLC that was, well, let's just say it wasn't great. The trailer, which featured an AI-generated voice and awkward animations, was panned by the community. Fans were quick to point out the robotic tone of the narration and the stiff, unrealistic animations, which made it look like the team put very little effort into it, which, hint hint, they did. They used AI for the entire thing. Content creators and players alike took to social media to express their disbelief, with many saying that the trailer looked like a cheap cash grab. This incident highlighted the growing concerns among the Ark community that Snail Games was more focused on quick profits than actually putting in the work to improve the game. This AI-generated trailer became a symbol of everything that was going wrong with the company's approach to its most loyal fanbase. And after 10 long years, it was like a good hard punch to the face. But the worst part, the microtransactions, overpriced DLCs, and the whole pay-to-play ecosystem that Snail Games started building around Ark. At first, it seemed like the occasional cosmetic item here and there was fine. However, over time, Snail Games began to push more and more content behind paywalls. And I'm not just talking about the usual skins or emotes that we've seen in other games. Take the paid dinos for example. One of the most controversial moves that Snail Games made was selling certain dinos as part of paid DLCs. If you wanted to get your hands on a special creature like the Pyromane, a fire-breathing dinosaur, you had to fork out an extra $5. Even worse, the Pyromane would randomly wander around the game world, appearing in front of players, but you couldn't use it unless you actually paid for it. It was as if Snail Games teased players with the chance to interact with this new dinosaur, only to lock it behind a paywall. It felt like a blatant attempt to exploit players, forcing them to buy in-game content that should have been part of a core experience. Instead of being rewarded for exploring and progressing, players were encouraged to pay extra for a feature that was already available in the game world, but unable to without spending more money. And then there are the DLCs. Some of these are just ridiculously overpriced for the content that they offer. Sure, there are big expansions like Aberration and Extinction, which added new maps and creatures, but many of the smaller DLC packs, especially the cosmetic ones, felt like cash grabs. For instance, the Ark Genesis DLC was a disaster in terms of both content and price. It was criticized for offering low-value additions and being a significant departure from what fans expected from the game. And to make matters worse, Snail Games continued to push more and more of these highly priced DLCs onto players, making the game feel less like a completed product and more like a platform for microtransactions. At the end of the day, it's clear that Snail Games was more interested in monetizing the Ark experience than actually improving it. Fans felt like they were being taken advantage of, and the trust that had been built up over the years of playing Ark started to erode. When players are being charged for something as basic as new dinosaurs or exclusive skins, it makes you question if the company has lost sight of what gaming is supposed to be about. But the controversy surrounding Snail Games doesn't end with Ark. Over the years, the company has been involved in many other questionable business ventures, most notably their attempt to branch into the electric vehicle market. Snail Games founder Shihai launched Indy EV, a company that aimed to produce the Indy 1, an electric vehicle designed to integrate gaming into the car. The idea sounded pretty cool, but unfortunately the project quickly ran into financial problems. Snail Games spent a staggering $600 million on Indy EV, hoping to break into the electrical vehicle market with the Indy 1. Unfortunately, the venture was a total failure. The car was plagued with delays, technical issues, and a complete lack of promised features. And despite all the investment, the project never came to hitting the market, and the company filed for bankruptcy. This huge loss further deepened concerns about Snail Games' management and their ability to focus on profitable ventures. Here's where things get even more controversial. Many within the Ark community believe that Snail Games used the funds from Ark Survival Evolved to help finance Indy EV. This is a massive accusation, and while it's not confirmed, the timing and the company's financial struggles suggest that this very well may be true. Ark was a massive success, doing almost $1 billion in sales, but instead of reinvesting the money into improving the game or supporting the community that made it popular, Snail Games seemingly diverted those funds into a high-risk electric vehicle venture. This move raised serious ethical concerns. Ark players felt betrayed as if they poured money into the game through purchases of DLCs, expansions, and microtransactions, only for Snail Games to funnel those funds into a completely unrelated project. It left a bad taste in the mouths of many fans, as they questioned whether Snail Games was truly dedicated to supporting the game that they built their brand on, or if they were looking for a quick cash grab to fund their own high-risk projects. The failure of Indy EV only intensified these concerns. Not only did Snail Games lose a huge amount of money, but they also lost the trust of their Ark player base, who had already been frustrated by the company's decisions around the game. Using Ark's success to fund a failing car project was seen as a glaring example of Snail Games' mismanagement, leading to a massive drop in goodwill from fans, especially with their Steam charts, as you can see here. Another significant issue Snail Games faced was its legal battle with Angelica Games, the developer behind the game Myth of Empires. In 2021, Snail Games accused Angelica Games of using stolen code from Ark Survival Evolved. This led to Myth of Empires being pulled from Steam in a lengthy legal dispute that lasted over 2 years. In 2023, however, the lawsuit was finally settled, and despite the aggressive nature of the lawsuit, Snail Games chose to partner with Angelica Games. While Snail Games might frame this as a positive step forward, many in the industry saw it as a troubling move. Partnering with a company known for such cutthroat tactics didn't reflect well on Snail Games' reputation, especially considering how they had tried to ruin Angelica Games' business in the first place. This partnership was a clear indication of Snail Games' willingness to engage in shady legal battles and aggressive business practices. Rather than showing any remorse or learning from their mistakes, Snail Games only continued to prioritize financial gain, even at the cost of their credibility within the industry. As if Snail Games' reputation wasn't already bad enough, they've also been accused of blatant corruption with Ark Survival Evolved. Reports have been surfaced that employees associated with Snail Games were actively playing the game in an in-game tribe known as T. a tribe notorious for its dominance on Conquest official servers. But here's where it gets truly disturbing. It's alleged that Snail Games employees use admin commands and exploits to gain an unfair advantage over other players.
I have played Ark since 2016 and I have a lot of experience in farming blueprints. Every single piece of T's flak was apprentice and had more than 800 durability. Acquiring one of these blueprints would be extremely lucky, yet they somehow had one for each piece of armor. These armor pieces are not only a good defense in PvP situations, they are shockingly cheap to make and repair, leaving a large amount of resources for other items.
One of the most infamous incidents involved a tribe called the Island Boys. After engaging in a battle with T-Tribe, all 93 members of the Island Boys were suddenly banned from the game. No warnings, no explanations, just a total wipeout of their accounts.
All 93 of us were banned from Conquest servers forever. Except the guy that took the screenshot, obviously. But yeah, I am not at all as emotional as things sound about what happened last night. I played this game to have fun with my friends and make videos. I had a blast playing with my friends, and I'm proud we attempted a shot at the big prize.
This sparked massive outrage in the Ark community.
Snail Games need to be held accountable for this, and they're going to ruin Ark Survival Ascended if they keep this up. So that's why I call them out every time they do this in videos. And you should too. If you guys want to make a difference, get on the Steam forums, let everyone know on Steam that the publisher of Ark is corrupt and exploitive towards their game. That's where you hurt them the most.
With players accusing Snail Games of abusing their power to eliminate competition. And all 93 of these players were banned for simply doing one thing: raiding their base.
Following them on all grounds, and we were soon able to soak some of their main turrets. We were tightening the rope around T, just like they did to every tribe on Conquest for the past 5 years. We did it in a legit way. We even forbid our players from bringing any fabricated snipers. If T sees you using a Fabi, they will ban you almost instantly.
Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this as there's many other videos that kind of go over this, but just know if you want to go check it out, channel's name is XFibo, pretty good friends of mine, go check out his video. Anyways, to make matters worse, there are claims that Snail Game employees were using admin privileges to spawn in items, alter server conditions, and manipulate battles in favor of T-Tribe. And again, they were accused of this is just an accusation, but they were accused of spending over $140,000 to DDoS their own servers.
My tribe would win the fight and the server would go down. The server would go back up, my tribe would win the fight, and the server would go down again. The server went down a total of 11 times, and that is when my tribe mates decided to not fight T when the server came back up, and it did not go down again.
Essentially, they weren't just publishing the game, they were playing it and cheating against their own player base. And when players started calling them out on forums and social media, Snail Games stayed silent. This level of corruption is unheard of in competition multiplayer games. Players invest thousands of hours into Ark, only to find out that the developers themselves might be the biggest threat that they're facing. Instead of addressing these allegations, Snail Games has chose to ignore them, further providing that they have little regard for fairness, integrity, or their own player base. So, there you have it, Snail Games, a company with potential but one that has made many questionable decisions time and time again. From their mismanagement of Ark Survival Ascended and Ark Survival Evolved, and to their failed electric vehicle company, it's clear that Snail Games has a long history of making decisions that prioritize their own profits over well-being of their fans. As they continue to push for more cash grabs with microtransactions, overpriced DLCs, and questionable partnerships, it's hard to see a bright future for this company unless they make some drastic changes. Maybe, just maybe, Snail Games will learn from their failures, but if history is an indicator, that's a long shot. Only time will tell. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like if you're new and hit that subscribe button, and please leave some feedback in the comments down below and tell me exactly what you guys think. Was Snail in the right for doing this, or were they in the wrong? Anyways, thanks for watching.